to Bike Life Radio from KWNK 97.7 FM from the Reno Bike Project, NevadaBike.org, and BikeWashoe.org. We ride our bikes out into the world with a recorder and talk to people about their bikes and their lives. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. The show is shorter and at a new time, you may have noticed. It's just 30 minutes now, but in the evening, and it's on the first and third Sundays of every month. So tune in to Bike Life Radio, just like you are right now. Today, we're going to take you to the National Bike Summit, where we talk to Bill Miller of Giant, and then Heidi Perif, an attendee from North Carolina, and then finally, Bill Nesper, the executive director of the League of American Bicyclists. Before we get to that, the news. In local bike news, the Biketopia event handed out over 60 helmets to kids, and Kiwanis Bikes fixed dozens of bicycles at the Reno Public Market. It was organized by Northern Nevada Public Health and Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance. County Commissioner Alexis Hill also spoke at the event. Ride Reno Spin Sparks will bring up to 300 kids to ride along the new protected path on Audie Wells Boulevard. The free event is on May 18th at Teglia's Paradise Park starting at 10 a.m. That's on May 18th, Saturday. Both cities, Sparks and Reno, and the county are donating police escorts for this event. Trek Bicycles has opened a store in Reno. It's 8,000 square feet. It has a lounge and bike fitting station. It's on Virginia Street. Speaking of Virginia Street, the Regional Transportation Commission is putting bike lanes in between Patriot and Longley on Virginia. But these bike lanes they're putting in don't meet federal standards for safety. The speeds are too high and there's no protection for cyclists. The Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance has sent a letter to the Regional Transportation Commission 2 weeks ago asking it to consider protecting people on the path and follow federal guidelines, but the RTC has not responded. That's it for local bike news from NevadaBike.org, Reno Bike Project, and BikeWashoe.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. Now on to our interviews at the National Bike Summit. The Nevada Bicycle Coalition and Truckee Meadows Bicycle Alliance lobbied Congress for safer roads while in Washington, D.C. Among the people lobbying was Bill Miller of Giant. Here he is. How did it go?
Really well. I was originally set up to actually meet with my representative, but she got called to the floor, met with one of her staffers. It was great. We also met with LaFonza Butler's team. Great group of people. They're very excited and totally behind what we're doing. So I would say it went pretty well.
Yeah, when you're in those meetings and you say that it went well, what does that mean?
Well, one of the old timers on our team said they're never going to say yes or no.
Yeah, they won't say like we'll sign that bill right away.
Yeah. But it was with Butler's team. The staff were very encouraging and said, "Look, this is right up our alley. This is what we're exactly here for." So we're behind it 100. We'll definitely get this in front of the senator. With Representative Brownlee, her staffer essentially gave the same feedback, and so to me that's a win. Yeah. If you can get them to agree and say, hey, streets do need to be safer, they do need to be designed for all users, including vulnerable road users, it's a win. I mean, it's one of those things that everybody comes out, and that's what I love about the Complete Streets Project is it's a perfect nonpartisan thing. I mean, everybody wants to be safe when you're walking or riding or whatever you're doing on the road. So
that was Bill Miller of Giant, who lobbied Congress at the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C. this year. Next, we're going to hear from an attendee at the summit, Heidi Perif of North Carolina. But before we get to that, let's take a bike music break. Here is BC Unidos, Bicycle FT Shungunzo. This is KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. We're bringing you interviews from the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C. this year. In a few minutes, we're going to hear from Bill Nesper, the executive director of the League of American Bicyclists, which puts on the summit. But first, one of the benefits of the National Bike Summit is that advocates from all over the nation come together and they hear and learn from each other. And one example of that is Heidi Perif, an attendee at the summit. She's from North Carolina. Here she is. What brings you to the National Bike Summit?
This is about my 6th one, and I'm an advocate in my town, which is Scarborough, and also on the state level with Bike Walk NC.
So one of the things that we do on Bike Life Radio is we talk about bike stories, and also, our bike communities or whatever. And is there something that you're fighting for in your community right now? And you said North Carolina, right?
Yeah, well, on the state level, we have a legislature that passed a law in 2013 that said no state funding could be used for any standalone bike or pedestrian project. We've been trying to get that taken back from the last 10 years, and we're hoping this is the year that happens.
That's a terrible idea. Whose idea was that? No state funding to be used for anything, basically? Anything other than cars?
Well, if it was part of a highway project, you could get state funding, but otherwise, no.
And how has that changed your community, do you think, that law?
Well, all over the state, small communities that would apply for federal grants to fund a project, all federal grants require a 20% match. So before 2013, the state would provide part or all of that 20%. Now it was all up to the communities who don't have that kind of money. So unless you're a wealthy community, you wouldn't even go after the grants because there would be no way to meet the match. Well, I'll tell you how I became a bike advocate.
Okay.
Because I was a bicycle commuter, and our town, the DOT had decided that we needed to 4-lane the 3 main roads into our town because in 20 years we were going to need to have that roadway. And I got a group of people together. We formed the first bicycle group, or the second in Scarborough, and we went to our town and we said, this isn't what we need bike lanes and we need sidewalks. And they agreed, and so they went to the DOT and said, this is what we need, and they said, nope, you can do that, but you'll have to apply in a different place for a much smaller pot of money. So, long story short, this is in the late 80s. We passed a bond to get the money to do it the way we wanted. We still don't need those 4 lanes on any of those roads, more than 20 years later. So that's a success story.
Yeah, congratulations. Wow, well, that must have been a lot of work to get all that money and get the bike lanes put in.
We had good leaders. They saw what it should look like, and they built it the way they wanted it to look rather than the way we were told it was supposed to look or going to look.
What kind of community reaction did you get in the 80s when you were thinking that this was a good idea?
Well, we were known as a very progressive town. And so we were the first silver level community in our state. I think there was a lot of desire for it. I think the hardest part was getting the state not to do what they wanted to do, not to push that down our throats. And but the local support was there. And on weekends, you see everybody walking and biking to the farmers market. And they were fine with not spending that money, but they weren't going to give us money to do it the way we wanted to do it. So
they would only spend the money to do it the way they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, that's lame. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's nice talking to you.
That was Heidi Perif, a bike advocate in North Carolina. She was attending the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C. this year. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plaskon. Right on. This is Bike Life Radio, too. Next, we're going to talk to the executive director of the League of American Bicyclists. The League is the one that puts on the summit. But first, we have some more patriotic American bike music. Since today, Bike Life Radio is in Washington, D.C., we're playing patriotic American bike music. Or trying to, anyway. Here's Sammy Kaye, the bicycle song.
Us on a bicycle going bye-bye. I'm gonna buy a bicycle. It will be your sickle, it will be my sickle. It's gonna melt your heart like an icicle. Us on a bicycle going bye-bye. We will ride all around summer and fall around. Oh, what a thrill, rolling down a hill. And when it's dark a bit, we're gonna park a bit. And in the glow, pretty words will flow. So I'm gonna buy a bicycle. It will be your sickle. going bye-bye.
Riding together, enjoying the wonderful weather. Us on a bicycle under the sky, going bye 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 bye.
It will be my sickle.
It's gonna melt your heart like an icicle. Us on a bicycle going bye-bye. We will ride all around, summer and fall around. Oh, what a thrill, rolling down a hill. And when it's dark a bit, we're gonna park a bit. And in the glow, pretty words will flow.
So I'm gonna buy a bicycle. It will be your sickle. It will be my sickle. We're gonna sigh. It will be so nice-icle. Us on a bicycle going bye-bye. Us on a bicycle going bye-bye.
Today we have interviews for you from the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C. And we were honored to talk to Bill Nesper, Executive Director of the League of American Bicyclists. Here he is, while riding his bike around D.C., talking into a microphone.
Hi!
Do you have a bike story, a favorite bike story that you like to tell? It could be short, it could be long, it doesn't even have to, it has to be bike related in some way or another.
Gosh, I think my favorite bike story is, when I moved to DC, I was just coming up to go to graduate school here, and I was, a bike advocate from Florida, amongst other things. Moved here, graduate student, and I moved into a basement with another bike guy, and he used to work at he was working at the League of American Bicyclists. So my favorite bike story is running into another bike guy in my group house and hearing about a job. And here we are 20 years later, and I get to be a part of this awesome movement of incredible people who are making biking safe and comfortable and accessible. And
so you clawed your way up through the...
I did, yeah. Well, I got a lot of opportunities. My predecessor, Andy Clark, he offered me the opportunity to work on the Bicycle Friendly Community Program for a number of years, and that program's so great at providing recognition for places that are doing great work, and it's creates inspiration for other cities to do things. And I was hooked. And I'm obviously passionate about cycling. And
next year is the 25th anniversary of the National Bike Summit, right?
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do?
We're gonna we have not to get too policy wonky, but we have a big transportation bill reauthorization coming down soon, and we need everybody to be speaking with one voice for more and better investments so that our communities can be healthier and thriving and more sustainable.
When we were doing our lobby day and I'm meeting up with congressional people, they kept mentioning something about any appropriations that we want. And I didn't really know what they were talking about. I'm going to be honest with you. Do you know?
Yeah, there are.
They were like, "What do you want?" And
what'd you say? I want to know what you.
I was like, "Oh, that's cool that you want to know what we want. I just don't have."
What'd you say? What'd you say? Well, the money. So bills get passed, but then you have to appropriate the funding, and so I think that there are projects that rise to the top that get funded and some don't. So I think they want input on what you want. to fund various projects. But what'd you say? You're like, oh, I don't know.
I was like, I nodded my head and I was like, oh, we'll let you know.
I mean, like it was kind of like, what do you want?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there are any appropriations you want, let us know.
It's a very long process of, I think, getting feedback from constituents on this sort of thing, and I'm glad they asked, and I hope you follow up.
Yeah, you know what they told us, that they get like 10,000 emails about wild horses, and a week or whatever.
Yeah, they. Where do you live?
In Reno, Nevada.
Oh yeah. You're Ty. Okay, yeah, right on.
That's my nickname, Kai Plaskan. Right on. You're listening to 97.7 FM, KWNK.
Nice, awesome, amazing.
So that made me think, because I'm always looking for opportunities.
There's probably a lot more that we can do, and we will do.
You never know what they're going to say.
It's a complicated process, right? To go. I think one of the most amazing things when I moved to Washington D.C. was just that, and one of these national bike summits was to see how much access we have to our members of Congress. Like, I mean, it's like, hey, yeah.
It's amazing.
Here we go. Let's go. And then they're like, "What do you want?"
And last year I really wasn't prepared, and it was my first year, and I was running around with my kids. This year I really felt prepared, and I think that speaks to the league, and then also being able to prepare us for the education bill, which we got some figures and everything from you guys that were key, specific to our state, that were really helpful.
We work hard to have a great staff who's working hard to give you the data and the stories together, which is the secret, to changing hearts and minds, right? I mean, that's really what you want to do. You really want to be able to, you're not pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. You're saying, hey, this is actually a real thing. It's not some really expensive thing. I mean, if you really look at the numbers, it's actually a really practical, smart thing. And if we really want to get the most for our money as people that live here, like our tax dollars, well, we're a really great investment. Yeah, so that's, I think, helping people make the case. It's not, every office doesn't want to hear the same thing, right? Some want to hear an economic development side, or some might want to hear more about education or health. And thankfully, biking, is a simple solution to a lot of the challenges we face, or at least part of the solution. I'm glad those were helpful for you.
I think it's really neat to have a guide to help us to be able to meet with, because there's so many people with so much access, like a lot of corporations with a lot of access, and they know they have paid people who know how to do this.
Oh yeah.
And we as regular citizens often don't feel like we have this opportunity.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think you have so much more natural power than like a paid, a group. You have like real stories from, of real people in the community. So that really goes a long way if you're prepared, right? And helping you be prepared to do that is part of what we do. Yeah, but yeah, you're not a professional lobbyist, and that's a good thing. I think in a lot of ways, you're a person that lives in the district. So I would encourage you to have an in-district meeting with your members of Congress and let us know how we can support you in doing that.
Well, I want to tell them what we want, for appropriations in particular. One of the things I did is, the question is are you willing to support this? And we know the answer is, well, I'll go check, with the the member. But what I did is I said, what are you going to do next with this information so that I understand how it works behind the scenes? And they really laid it out for me, like, first I'll do my research, and then I'll read the bill, and then I'll I'll bring it to the Congress people if I really like it, and they laid it out. Sometimes we think of these staff members as being people that are just there to nod their heads, and they're not necessarily.
No, not necessarily, right? And I think it's really easy. I think that was like coming to DC. One of the things, maybe I was cynical about the whole thing, like, oh, they're not really listening to me, and they, I don't really have a voice. But I was pleasantly surprised. In many ways, you do have a voice, and if you can go and speak coherently and concisely, about what you want, and why you want it and why it makes sense, you'll have people listening to you. There's a lot of smart people that want to do good in this city, who work for congressional offices and in the federal government and all around. So I think it's a pleasant surprise for people who come to the summit, to the National Bike Summit, because a lot of these people, they're not doing this professionally. They're folks that just love biking. They
care about safety.
Yeah, they care about safety. They care about their community. They care about their environment. They care about health. For whatever reason they get into it, they don't come here. I think biking is really disarming in a lot of ways. To people, it's like it's fun.
Yeah.
That's why you use pictures of bikes and people smiling on bikes in like commercials, because it's fun. We all know it.
And usually they're probably talking to people about things that aren't very fun. And
Right.
Congress people.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. They have to be problem solvers in all sorts of ways, and not everything is as fun as biking,
And maybe that's a way we can make the lobby day more fun, is have some sort of a... You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM, Bike Life Radio.
Back row, you're tall, dude.
And you're the executive director.
Yes,
right?
I'm the executive director of the League of American Bicyclists.
How has it gone for you?
It's gone pretty well. Yeah. Being an executive director of the league, it's a great job, greatest job in the world.
And so, how has it changed over the years, would you say?
Gosh, I've been executive director for a little over 6 years, and it's going great. Yeah, we're growing in membership and our staff capacity to do more good, and I'm really excited.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Bill Nesper, Executive Director of the League of American Bicyclists. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll do more interviews later.
Yep. All right. Sounds great. Can't wait.
All right.
Thanks.
Maybe for next year's summit, a preview or something like that. That was Bill Nesper, Executive Director of the League of American Bicyclists, talking into a microphone while riding his bike at the National Bike Summit in Washington, D.C. this year. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. We're going to close out today's show. with the Penelopes and their song Bicycle. It's from Spaceboy Motion Picture. That's it for Bike Life Radio. We ride our bikes out into the world, and we talk to people about their bikes and their lives. We're made possible by NevadaBike.org, BikeWashoe.org, and KWNK in Reno, Nevada, owned and operated by the nonprofit bike shop Reno Bike Project on Grove Street. I'm Kai Plascon. Ride on.